Hello everybody and welcome to today's podcast. I have with me the founder of the fashion brand Gypsabella, Abbie Day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for coming
in.
Thanks
for inviting me.
No worries. It's going to be a good chat this. There's a couple of reasons. There's three main reasons why I wanted you on. The first reason why I wanted you on is because you've achieved something that, and we've got a lot of clients in fashion, but yours is quite different to how you've gone about getting to the point you've got to. And I think there's some brilliant lessons in authenticity in it that we're going to talk about. Actually, we'll touch upon that first when we talk about influencer marketing. The other reason why I wanted to bring you on was because there is a long-termism around what you do that I think other people don't have that come to me that want to start a consumer brand. We just chatted a little bit about it before, about a brand we've invested in and how the founders think that partnering up with us is going to lead to overnight success.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about how you take that long-term approach. And the third reason why I wanted to, and maybe one of the main reasons, is when I set up this podcast, I set it up because I was in the thick of it. Yeah. When I wrote my book, sometimes I look back at my book and think, maybe I wrote that too early in the journey. But the reason why I wrote the book was because I feel like when Richard Branson talks about at 58 how he bought Necker Island and how he signed the Rolling Stones and all the rest of it, it's so far removed away from real life.
Yeah, no one can achieve that.
It doesn't become
feel like.
Yeah, so it doesn't become aspirational. Yeah. How can you go from a one-man band to thinking,
I'll go and buy this island?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book before most people would write a book, and I brought the podcast out. And I think the title for this podcast is In the Thick of It, because you are in the thick of it, having to navigate and pit your wits and
that's the most important part.
Get your way through,
isn't it? Because this is how you get to where you want to be. And I feel like there's not many people out there who share this side of the story, because I don't think, podcasts are fairly new though, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's not something that's been around for years, so no one's probably really ever had a chance to share their story.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's good to share not just mine but other people's stories who are going through a similar process to get where they want to be.
Yeah.
So.
I agree, and that's why I want you on. Before we go into your actual journey, which we're going to come onto in a second, one of the key things I mentioned was the authenticity, and one of the things you've done, which is now starting to last the test of time, is you effectively model your own stuff. You photo shoot yourself. And so you live and breathe the brand.
Which is a nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you live and breathe it. And actually what's happened is, and we talked about this earlier, is through being involved in digital marketing in capacities before, and looking after and being involved in lots of brands' journeys, I've seen where SEO was king.
SEO so many different things.
Then it was paid ads. Then paid ads went, then it was something else. And obviously there was a point where influencers, it was like, I would be like, what the fuck's he spend? And they'd be like, I spent 60 grand this month on influencers. I'd be like,
yeah, wow, it's so
and
much.
At the point, I'm like, what's that? Then you start to see, we got this influencer. And back in the day, I don't know how long ago this was, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, you could get a killer influencer, pay him or her, mainly her, it works more with females, you could pay her a fairly decent sum of money, knowing you would sell out of stuff.
Yeah.
And them days are becoming less and less and less.
Yeah.
And so there's a big fight now between those influencer brands that focus on getting off the brand through that influencer channel, going, where do I now deploy my budget?
Yeah.
What made you start and think, I'm actually going to do this myself?
Do you know what? I feel like because I've obviously built this from the ground up, from nothing at all, there was never a question in my mind about whether anyone else would model for it or influence, or I'd send anything out to anyone. It was just a case of, I'll buy that in and I'll see whether it sells, because I think my approach, and still is my approach, is if I can, one of the things that I love doing with anything that I buy is styling it. So I think if I can't make it look good, or I can't sell it on me, not like on me thinking like, oh, I can sell anything. I just think, why would I spend money or give money to an influencer to try and model something to sell it for me? I'll see whether it sells first by doing it myself. And I feel like, you know, touch wood, that's been good for me since day one. It's something I feel like my brand has probably recognised because of that, because of me, and that's how I've built it up. But I also feel like there's a lot of money that you need to spend on influencers, and I'm just not prepared to spend that money on loads and loads of influencers to try and get the stock to sell. Right now, obviously, with my brand, I don't know a lot about business, and I don't know everything about numbers and everything like that. So it would take a lot for me to manage, okay, well, how much have I bought that in for? How much am I paying this person to wear it? And then how much have I got in to sell? Am I breaking even with that product? Like, obviously influencers aren't cheap unless you're prepared to send something to someone that's local and they're charging next to nothing, but what are you actually gaining from that anyway?
Yeah.
So I feel like my approach from day one has always been, oh, I'll just see whether it sells. I'll get a picture in my mirror and I'll see how I get on. It's never really crossed my mind at all to say, oh, I wanted to send it to her, It's only been very recently where I've thought, oh, I haven't got anyone in my life who gives me advice on business.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how do I get my brand bigger now? Like, have I reached the point? Like, am I doing everything that I possibly can? And have I reached that point? How do I get it bigger now? So now I'm thinking maybe I do need to start using influencers. But obviously my approach as well, which I spoke to you before about, is I would only use someone who I felt was the perfect fit for my brand. So as I said, I'm not just going to start using an influencer because they've got X amount of followers and they look like they do good. That might do nothing for my brand. They might not be that engaged with their followers, or their followers might not look up to them and look out for their clothes, or look for them for styling, or if they're going away, do we look at her, let's see what clothes she buys. So I feel like I would use someone who's got that type of platform purely for fashion only, and that would fit with my brand. And I feel like that's where I'd like to head to. But again, even when I've looked at it recently, they're just a fortune. It's a lot of money to pay, and I'm just not prepared to pay that right now.
I think one of the things, if you would have been paying it, you'd be having to find a new model, a business model now, because you wouldn't be getting the results back.
And it changes all the time, obviously, as you said. Yeah, it's changed.
I think the other thing is, when I look at your Instagram, I look at it and I think like you're just about to go for a day out or a night out. So I look at it and subconsciously, because it's always you, you can kind of tell how proud you are by the product that you're modelling. Yeah. I look at it and go, oh, she's probably just wearing that for a night out and just took it, which makes me think, but I'm not your consumer, obviously, because I'm not female, but it does even make me as a male think, she believes in a product, she believes in the brand, she's not getting paid anything to wear it.
True.
Whereas with some, in fact, with the majority now, what you think is, especially where it just says ad, is you think, and by the way, this might not be true, you could give, or we could give, we've invested in a sportswear brand, which will bring it into this in a bit, we could give somebody a product and they could go, I fucking love this product. But the 1 million followers just think, oh, it was Gymshark last week.
Yeah, paid.
No, it's RGB.
Exactly my point.
So
that's what I mean.
Even if they love the brand,
I'll do your, it's all about your consumer.
Know?
So even theirs becomes yours, depending on how many people start following your brand or my brand or whatever. Yeah. But like, if they're not fully invested in your brand already, how do their followers or consumers or whoever it is know that this product is a good product? So it's like the customer is the priority. So like, how can you expect someone to just buy something because someone else is wearing it? I feel like the market right now is saturated with influencers and people who are, and you know what, fair dues to them, that's their business. They can do whatever they want. I've got nothing against them at all. But it's hard for someone like me to differentiate someone who's being genuine wearing an outfit that they absolutely love and adore compared to someone who's wearing it just because they're getting paid. How do you split them two apart? You don't, unless they're coming on, they love whatever your gym stuff is, and they're coming on and they're speaking and they're like, guys, oh my God, just got this gym stuff, you won't believe it, like, makes me feel amazing, like really coming on and supporting your brand and loving it and putting it out there. How else are you ever meant to know? Like as a consumer or as a potential buyer, they're never going to know, and they're never going to be bothered, I don't think, unless it's something that's out of this world, that's completely different, that people are like, or as you know, you're targeting a certain type of audience that someone might feel they actually need that in their life. But if it's something that is already out there, like gym wear or clothes for me. How do you make that product known to everyone that it's an amazing product? It's hard.
And of course the problem is, and I feel for people who have that business model influencer in a way, the actual influencer I'm talking about now, is because if you then said, you fucking love my product, I want you to go and do a video saying this is the best gym wear. What's going to happen is next week, a gym wear brand's going to ring you and say, we'll pay you that, but we don't just want to post now. We want you to go on and rave and say, you know 100%. What I mean? So where does it end?
Yeah, and I feel like that is all down to that influencer though, because let's say, for example, I was an influencer. And I just started and I was getting bigger and bigger. I don't think I would ever accept to collaborate with someone unless I believed in that product. I'm not just going to say to you, oh yeah, go on, pay me this amount of money and I'll wear it on a post next week just because I'm getting paid for it. Because I'm not being genuine then. I'm only ever going to wear something or buy something or promote something that I absolutely love and believe in. And I feel like it's hard for a lot of influencers as well, because that's their life, that's their business. That, you know, some of them don't work. So how far do you go? You know, what if someone isn't coming along with something that you love and then you've gone a month without earning any extra money? What do you do? So we only see what we see from our side, and they see everything that they see from doing their bit. But obviously that is the exact reason why I don't really collab with anyone. Plus I have tried to in the past, by the way, like on a gifted basis, and they don't even post for you. So then you're sending someone something that you've paid for, not only paid for out of money, but your time, your effort, your blood, sweat and tears has gone into this product. You really want them to wear it and they don't wear it. So you've lost out on all of that, plus something that you expected to do well, and it's just disappointing. And I'm not putting myself through that. Also, obviously, I'm big on style and how someone looks in it. So even if you do send it to someone, are they going to wear it the way you want them to wear it? And then maybe not, maybe it might look worse, I don't know. It's just, it's a whole avenue that I'd like not really to get into right now, I think, for me.
So you've done it authentically and you've grown Gypsabella to, is it just over 200,000 followers you've got on Insta?
200,000.
On a good day, you'll do 1,000 orders.
On a very good day.
Hey?
But on a very good day, obviously. But.
And you turn over 7 figures, and you've done that yourself really without just being authentic over a long period of time. I'm going to talk about the growth story in a second, but let's go back to the start then. Like, where did you grow up? And
so born and raised in Tubruch in Liverpool. Right. Not the nicest area. Do you know that area?
No, I don't actually. No.
Oh, not the nicest area.
But if you'd have said Essex, then I'd have been surprised.
Oh yeah, no, Well, I was going to say Liverpool because no, might be watching. I'm thinking. I mean, you probably guessed, but Tubruch, not the nicest area at all. But I loved it. It was the best thing for me. Like, people would be like, bloody hell, rough area, but it was just home to me. So born and raised there, went to a school just up the road on West Derby Road called St Michael's, and then spent the majority of time in Broughton Hall for my secondary school, and then
And what was when you was in school? What did you dream of being? What did you think you was going to end up? Did you have a clue, or what was your interests?
I actually didn't have one clue about what I wanted to be. Right. Do you know, I feel like I didn't do very well in school at all, and I think at the time back when I was in school, you had to finish school with 5 GCSEs to get a job. So you'd have to have your English, your maths, your science, plus an extra 2. And I think I left with me English and dance, I think, and that was it. So I didn't have me maths or my science or anything else that I'd done. So I had to go to college and resit. And I feel like at that time, I wasn't even thinking about work or what I wanted to do. And I feel like it's a lot different now in the world that we live right now compared to the world that I lived in, because it was just getting to the next stage of life for me. It went like the next year. It weren't like a life thing that I'd ever thought about in school. It was just like, oh, I've got to go and resit them for another year now for my GCSEs. Work and a career and my future was never on the cards in my mind for me. I think it was just more of like, I hope I get a stable job. That's just that's my aim. I hope I get a good job, whatever that might be, as long as it's stable and it's of a good company, then I'm happy with that. I think this brings me back to a now day and age compared to my day and age. Like, Instagram weren't even a thing then, so being your own boss or owning your own business weren't even a thing then. No one I knew at all, my age at that point, ever even had anything to do with anything like that. So it was all about us just finding a good job and that being it. But obviously, I had to resit my GCSEs for that year, and then applied for my first job, which was car firm warehouse, which I loved. It was the best job I ever had. Part-time it was whilst I was doing my GCSEs, and that was just when I started earning my first little bit of money for myself. And then because I started getting a taste for the money thing, this is where it sort of like, you know, unravelled or whatever. And then when I finished my year in college of doing my GCSEs, I didn't even get me science or my maths. I only finished that year with my psychology, and then I was allowed for some weird reason, they let me go on to A-levels, and I don't know why, because I never had the points, but I just got let on to do that. And just tried to do my A-levels, but didn't complete that either.
You didn't finish the A-levels. So from a job perspective, before Gypsabella, what did you do?
Everything. I've worked everywhere, literally. Everywhere you can think of, I've probably worked. It was just on agency work. So basically the journey for me before Gypsabella was, worked at car firm warehouse, loved it, never wanted to leave, made amazing mates there. Never worked at anywhere before that, by the way. That was my first proper job, as far as I can remember. And I feel like my life had just started to begun there, really. And at that time of my life, me and my mates, we were all planning on Ibiza holidays with the girls. We wanted to go here, there and everywhere. And I'd just started my A-levels, and I weren't really career focused. I weren't thinking about my future, which going back now I should have been. It's not something that I wish I wouldn't change. It's something that I'd look back and think, oh, do you know what? I would have changed that for myself, if obviously I could still end up where I am now. And then worked in car firm warehouse, and then towards the end of the first year of doing my A-levels, I left to take a full-time job at Barclays, which was only fixed term, which was 3 months, but I was on a fortune at the time. I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm earning loads of money here. I can pay for this, I can pay for that, I can go to Ibiza, and that was all I cared about, was going on the holidays with the girls, and that's all we all cared about. I actually met my best mate now at college, and we both started our A-levels together and left together towards the end of the year to both go and work in these jobs so that we could all go on holiday. And actually now she works for me now. So we've basically been through the whole journey together. Worst thing I ever done probably was leave car firm warehouse to go and work in Barclays, because I got let go and I had nothing. I didn't have my A-levels, I didn't have my GCSEs, I had nothing at all. And I just got let go on the day, got told it was all of our team works up, and that was always that was always a potential thing to happen, because it was only fixed term. But obviously it was a shock for me. I was like, but yeah, I've just left all that and I've got nothing now. And then I just had to I was going to Reed, recruitment agency, Blue Arrow, Search, everywhere in town. I was handling CVs in Resurrection on Bold Street. Every week I had to go in because I just wanted to work there, and I just needed the job. And from that point, that's when I was saying I've worked everywhere then, because I was just on agency to agency to agency.
And how long did you do that for before Gypsabella?
I'd probably say I'd done that for a few years, so maybe 2 years I've done that for. It was the worst thing I'd ever been through, by the way. It wasn't a good thing. I just had no stability in my life. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just felt useless. But again, at the time, I was just making ends meet, really. I was just paying for the things I needed to pay for, and making sure I always had a job was my priority. And I think because at the time I was working in so many places, my CV was just going up and up and up. And it was only that I know now, owning my own business, if I was to look at someone who wanted to work for me and they had a CV that long, I'd be like, oh, why? What is the reason for that? Where at the time when I had the CV that was that long, I was like, I've worked in all these places. Why can't I get a permanent job? Why doesn't no one want to take me on? And actually, it weren't the best look for me. It weren't a great look. So I just think I was lost at that point, and I didn't know where I was heading or what I was doing. Just finding a job or a stable job was my priority. And that was it, really.
And how did you get from there then to Gypsabella? Where did Gypsabella come about?
So basically, I worked, where was it? Oh, I can't even remember where I worked when I started Gypsabella. I think it might have been at a debt management company, which was probably towards the end, my most stable job that I had, which I absolutely loved as well, by the way. That was the last job that I had, which was stable when I very first started it. And I started it with my two best mates. And we all worked and we just thought, no one else is doing this right now, as I said earlier. It wasn't a thing to do back then. There was only a few people who used to do it, and we thought, oh, we could do this, we could get ourselves a little bit of extra money, like whatever, this would look good. Let's set up this Instagram account. So we set it up, and we both had, me and my two best mates both had different views on what we wanted to sell.
Right.
So they pretty much wanted to sell like accessories, earrings, necklaces.
Okay.
And I wanted to sell clothes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm not really an accessory person. I'm more of a clothes person, shoes, whatever. If that's classed as accessories, don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was more clothes. And it got to a point where we were both disagreeing on what we wanted to sell. And because we were starting it from the very beginning, we didn't really have any followers on Instagram at all. It was all very like, I want to do that. Oh, I think we should do that. We didn't start it, by the way, with any knowledge or thought about this being anything at all. It was just like, oh, maybe this will work, maybe it won't, like, let's just see.
Yeah.
And we didn't invest any money at all. It wasn't a case of, you put X amount in, I'll put Y amount. Like, it weren't that. It was just like, let's just put it up and see whether it does well.
Yeah.
So, tried to do that for a few weeks, I think, and then it got to a point where they both come to a decision and said to me, we don't really like what you're selling. We're going to go off and do our own thing. And that obviously killed me. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Still very close with them now, by the way. No bad blood or nothing like that. But they just went off to do their own thing. And I thought that was the worst thing that had ever happened to me in my entire life. Like, I cried my eyes out for days because I was like, wow, my life's over. I've got no mates. They don't like anything that I'm doing. Like, I've lost my mates. This was meant to be an amazing thing, and now I'm on my own. I was sat at home with Tom, my boyfriend, crying for days. He's like, Abby, it's better on your own. I just couldn't come to terms with what had happened. Obviously, the best thing that had ever happened to me now. But back then, my focus was just doing this with my mates. I was very mates orientated. Everything that I'd done was with my mates. So I just then took that on myself and then built Gypsabella from that point, which is mad, obviously, looking back, because you think, wow, how did I ever even do that? Or how did I get to that point? It's not something that I really, look back on and really focus on how far I've come. But
and what were those first steps? You'd go and buy stuff from where, like?
So I'd just do it on like a pre-order basis. So I think now a lot of people think that they have to invest money into things and they have to have a lot of stock to sell. And maybe now it's different. I wouldn't know, because obviously I'm not starting something new right now. But back then, I just used to, which I always say I would never do now, and I hate people who do use my pictures and all that. But at the time, I'd just use any pictures that come from my supplier and put them up and say, available to order 3 weeks, whatever. And if people had ordered, they give me the money. I'd buy the product, and then and then it's not coming out of my own money. I'm not losing anything. There's no risk to the business or me, or didn't even see it as a business then, but there's no risk to me. I'm not wasting or losing a lot of money. And that was the best way at that time, I thought, to start the business.
And how did you source it, and how much time was you spending doing that?
A lot of time. So, sometimes I look at my camera roll on my phone, and it goes from, my camera roll, by the way, goes back to like 2013. That phone is like my life. So I can see from when I started Gypsabella, because my camera roll goes from the pictures of being just me, all my mates, all my memories, to every single bit of stock possible. My phone, from a certain point, is just pictures and pictures of stock, of inspo, of everything. So I feel like that's where I really started spending my time looking at stuff. What do I actually want to sell? And I would only ever sell anything that I thought was amazing, that I loved. I'd never sell anything just for the sake of selling it. And maybe that's why it grew quickly. And obviously the timing was right for me. It's harder now, but yeah. How
quickly did you start to think, hold on, I might be onto something here?
I never actually thought that, I've never thought, oh, I might be onto something. I've never had that thought. I might be on something. I'll tell you, the only time that I thought I was doing Boss, which was, I've never had a lot of money in my life, right? And I'm not saying, oh, I came from nothing or whatever, because that's not the vibe I'm trying to give. But I've never had a lot of money in the bank. I've always been in debt or like lent money or whatever. Like I've never had an amount of money in the bank where I've been very money savvy or anything. So there was a time where the business was obviously growing and stuff, and I didn't know about an accountant or anything that I used to think, oh, that's what I need. Yeah. It was just like, oh, bloody hell, I'm getting a few sales here. And then I remember thinking, right, I'm going to have to split this money now from my own to the business and think, oh, let's just see how much the business is actually making. And I remember looking at the bank and I had £700 in the bank and I was like, oh my God, I've made it. Yeah. I can't believe it. I've got £700 in the bank. Like, how have I got that much money? I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't let that go below 700.
Was you working at this point? Or you
I was working at this point.
Yeah, so
So I was working, but I'd obviously separated because I couldn't have lived off that. Yeah. Separated, and I was like, well, yeah, I've actually got £700 spare, like on top of me money that I'm getting. But I'm like, oh my God, I feel rich. Like, I can't believe it. So that was the only time where I've thought, right, I've got to be careful here, because I want to grow and grow and build that money to make sure that if anything ever comes along that I want to buy, and at the time, anything that I really wanted to invest my money in, any brands that I wanted to buy and sell or anything like that, was always like a minimum order of, let's just say, £2,000 minimum order, and at that time that was out the question for me. Yeah. I can't afford that. Yeah. So that £700 was a goal for me to reach, to be like, no, I really want to get myself to a point where I'm like, no, I need to be able to invest this money into to buy clothes that I absolutely love, that I feel like will grow Gypsabella to the next point. So I feel like that was probably my turning point of thinking, right, no, this is serious. Like, which is mad, because obviously it's amazing to look back on. And £700 is still a lot of money. Do you know what I mean?
And again, sometimes people come in and they're like, what's the word? The word I'm looking for is they think that what they did is not great because it was simple. And they think like it should be like this, here's my plan.
They do.
And the reality of it is somebody came in before who's got an events business, and the way he runs it's completely different to what an events business normally look like. And he's like, I just want to keep it simple. Like that was a bad thing. And I'm like, you don't understand. We work with some events companies where it's not as simple as what you've got it. It's like a great thing that you can keep that simplicity. In a similar way that when we've invested into consumer brands, we've had to go and buy product. And to hit the MOQs at the start, you know, if you want to get 30 SKUs on the site or something at 500, if you're lucky, we actually have a few where we can get hundreds, right? But the pricing's not great when you want to get 100, and the amount of factories are going to do
well, exactly,
for a start. You're definitely
that's very rare as well, isn't
exactly.
it? Like...
so it takes quite a big investment, but the simplicity of yours was actually your investment was zero, and then it was 700 quid, but that was because of the simplicity of the model that you was doing. And
I think that's what I was speaking to you before as well. I think it is all about one. By the way, that £700 weren't built up overnight. That £700 was obviously built up over like a year of me trying to come to grips with what I was actually doing. Like, bloody hell, this is my little side hustle now. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it that I've actually got going on? And I think that was the realisation for me when you've just said then, you know, what was the turning point for you? And maybe that was it. At the time, I would never have thought that was it. But looking back, that was when I started to be serious and think, no, do you know what? I'm going to be serious about this now and really look at what I can do to benefit me and Gypsabella to make this, you know, a bigger business.
And you mentioned styling was a big thing. So you, at some stage, you made that move from pictures to you, and then you decide it's you. Did you decide it was you to be authentic, or was it to keep the cost down?
Neither. I don't think. I think it was just more like, I don't think I ever thought of getting anyone else in. Not because I didn't want to, or like I thought I was better, because I didn't think that. It was just more like, oh, I'll just put it on, let's just see. Like, Just as simple as that. It weren't a case of, which now I think it's a whole different ball game. You're up against a lot of people now who are doing amazing. So unless you're selling something that no one's ever seen before, where there's a gap in the market for something that you're selling, it's definitely hard now to try and, you know, bring something out that's new. But again, I feel like it was the timing for me. So I could just be in my bathroom in my mum and dad's and get the picture and be like, oh, new in.
Yeah.
And everyone would love it, but maybe that was because I built the relationships with people over time.
Yeah.
Again, that's not something that I started out just getting pictures and everyone loved it, because it weren't. I probably had a year or maybe a year and a half of putting supplier pictures up, and then people thinking, oh, I love this, getting it out there, and then me becoming in it. And then I even get girls messaging me now saying, I followed you from the beginning, like you should be so proud. So I feel like it's more about the journey rather than thinking about it as a business model and thinking, what can I do to make this business work? It was more like just making ends meet at the time. Let's just see. Like, let's see how it goes.
And if you remember, because you started in 2017, is that right?
Started the Instagram then, yeah.
Okay, so if you look at like 2017, 2018, can you remember how many orders you might get in a day or a week?
I'd probably say, do you know what? I'd probably say maybe 2 or 3 a day, if that.
Because what again, we talked about one of the other things that why are the themes, what I think is interesting about you and your journey, is people will look at it and think it's that overnight success kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I said to you before, we invested in a body care brand a year ago, because we do some consumer investments. And we invested in 2 lads, and they were doing a subscription model, trying to get plastics out of the bathroom. We thought, great idea, let's do it. So we get our marketing involved, we put some money in, we buy the product, off we go. 1 subscriber on the first day. I'm like, that's cool.
Okay, progress.
2, 1 more the second day. That's progress.
Yeah,
that's great.
It is.
I can tell you now, by day 30, when they'd got 25 subscribers, to them, it was a huge failure.
Oh, wow.
So much so, after the second month, they gave up. And I've got 10,000 bars of soap.
You're joking.
No, I'm fucking not.
No, you're messing.
I've got bars of soap.
Sure.
I've got shampoo bars, conditioner bars, more bamboo toothbrushes than fucking a local jungle. Sat in a warehouse, because seriously, after 2 months,
oh my God.
They looked at it and thought, we thought we'd partner up with you, get your marketing team, and get some cash, and it would just all of a sudden be coming up.
You see. And or whoever invested, they think. But this is me point about like what someone said something to me the other day, like if you needed something right now, what would it be? Or if an investor came along, like let's just say you went on Dragon's Den, what would you think? What would you pitch? Mine wouldn't be the money. It wouldn't be the money. It would be the product. Let's focus on the product, because I'm going off on a tangent here, but I feel like it's relevant. I feel like a lot of people this day and age compare themselves to a lot of people. So they look at it like back then, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about business. I didn't know anyone in business. I didn't know anyone like you. I didn't know anyone who was successful the way I do now when you look at Instagram. So for me, those 2 orders a day, I was living the high life. I was loving it. Like that was me done. Like I didn't expect to get where I am now. Didn't ever expect to leave work. That was not on my agenda. So I was loving life then. And like when I look back now, that was probably the best life I'll have ever lived. Like less stressful than what I am now. And it was just a really good thing. I never compared myself to anyone. I never thought, oh my God, I've got to keep up with this, or I've got to reach a certain point. I never had any goal. And I feel like now, if you're not the next best thing and you haven't got brands in the bank after your first launch of a business, then you're a failure. But why does that make you a failure? Like, let's just take it back to 5 years ago, before Instagram was as big as it is. If you started then and didn't know anyone you know now, or compared yourself, would you be a failure then? No, I don't think you would. I think you'd be made up with yourself, and I think you'd think, wow, oh my God, how have we got these 25 subscribers? How do they even know about us? This is amazing. How do you expect to be successful at the end of 2 months? That's just not normal to think. I don't think. Even now, I don't expect to be like the next big global brand in the next year. I know that's very hard to achieve, but I'm hoping that I'll get there at some point. And you do just have to, hope and look back and look at your business and think, well, do you know what? okay, it's took us 5 years, but it's been the best 5 years I've ever had, and I've been able to leave work. Who was ever thought I'd be able to leave work? I never thought I could even do that. So to do that is a big stepping stone for me. And I think anyone who goes into business now thinks, right, this is going to be it. In the next week, I should have 500 orders, and that has got to be it. And if it's not, it's obviously crap. That's what they think. They think it's awful. Oh, obviously the product's crap. But actually, no, like, you've got to think about the customer. Like, how do you expect anyone? Would you go and buy something that's got 10 followers on Instagram that's selling a pair of work pants? You know, you're going to go to your Next or you wherever you buy your pants from, because you've got no relationship with that brand. But if you follow them or they engage you in some way or another and you build it slowly, I do feel like people will get there if they believe in themselves. I really, really do. But I think a lot of people are just too quick to judge themselves and expect themselves to be in a position where someone else is, and that's not the case. You can't expect that.
I think that's brilliant advice. When you look at the sportswear brand we invested in, and my missus is heavily involved in it now. She pretty much runs a brand. But when we set out, I was like, if we can get a couple of customers a day for a year, there'll be some peaks in that because there'll be a Christmas period. If you can get 1,000 customers buying your stuff in a year.
Yeah, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of people.
I think it is.
1,000 people. If you had 1,000 people sat here now, would they be able to fit in this room?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they wouldn't.
No.
So that's a lot of people to buy your product that's new.
But people expect that they're going to do it in 2 months.
Yeah, they do, yeah. And that's people who I believe aren't invested, and I mean, don't hate me anyone for watching who's I'm not judging anyone, but I believe that they are people who aren't invested in the product. You don't love it. Because if you loved it, you'd believe in it, and you'd know that it will get there.
At some point.
At some point. Like if that is really what you want, and that's what you're aiming for, and that is your goal in life, you will make it. You can't just like cancel it out.
You see, one of the things you said there was you felt like you made it 700 quid. You thought life was
amazing.
Don't get any better when you did 2 or 3 orders a day. And that's probably why you are where you are. The people that, if you ever start investing in people, or the people that I need to look at when we're investing is, what are they in it for?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are in it to get rich.
A lot of people.
And the people who are in it to get rich want to get rich quick.
Yeah,
they want to get rich over 5 years or 10 years or 13 years I've been doing this.
And it's because they want this persona, I think. Because, and this is my point, sorry I went off on another tangent, but my point of it is a lot of people feel like if they haven't got their own business nowadays, or they're not doing something for themselves and they're just in a normal 9 to 5, then they've failed at life. That's what people believe these days, I think. No one is, the people that I know aren't going out now and going, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to work in, a reputable company that's like, a blue chip company, let's just say like, I don't know, like BT or somewhere that's got amazing benefits. No one's looking for jobs like that, like I was when I was a kid. They're looking to be their own boss, which is amazing if that's what you really want. But don't compare yourself to someone else who you see as doing well, because the fact of the matter is that's took them a lot of years to get there. No one is gonna get there. I mean, maybe some people do, I don't know. Maybe there is a few lucky people out there who are an overnight success. I'm not saying there isn't, but there's a lot of hard work involved, and I feel like people do think, I need to do this to be as successful, because if I am just going in a normal 9 to 5 job, I'm not successful. And I know a lot of people like that who do feel like that, and that is not the way to think. That is not, you can't think like that, because then that's when you get people who do think, oh, I'm going to start this business because that's how I'm going to be good and that's how I'm going to be successful, and then it doesn't take off. And then a month get by and say, oh, I've only had 5 orders. And I say, but what do you expect though? Like, just because you've started it in a month, you're not going to be this, as you said, an overnight success in a month's time. It doesn't happen. It takes a lot of hard work. So I think people need to understand what is involved and what is expected of you, as you know, with your business. And I know with mine, that it takes a lot of hard work and dedication and your whole entire life and time to get where you want to be. And if that is what you really want to do, and that is your passion and that's your goal, then go for it. Love it. Like, love everything about it. But if you just see someone else doing good and you think, oh, I want to do that because I don't want to work where I'm working, but your job is actually a good job, focus on progressing within that role and, you know, becoming better in that role and working your way up in that company. You might be on more than other people who own the business. It's a persona that people want, not the life, I think.
How consumed are you by your business?
Oh, very consumed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because the other thing is that a lot of people do on that get rich quick, get successful quick, get recognised quick scheme that people are on, is they think that they can do one or two things a day to the business and it's going to make a change. And it's going to, that post that day or that influencer that day or that article that they put that day or those 2 social media posts or whatever it is that it is, I get the impression that you are constantly disciplined. I mean, you model the stuff, so you must want to look good. So there must be a diet discipline, there must be a sleep discipline, there must be all this.
I mean, do you know what? Sleep is like key for me. I mean, I go to bed quite late, but lately, I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm starting to look at my face and I'm like, I need this sleep because I'm getting wrinkles, I'm stressed, like I'm not young anymore, do you know what I mean? I'm not 20.
Do you think Gypsabella will move with you with your age? Rather than
I hope not.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't.
Okay.
This is my worry because I think I don't want to be one of them brands that loses itself because, and this is something I always think about, I think, right, okay, so yeah, I model my stuff. This is a worry for me because I'm not getting any younger. How long can I model my stuff for? Am I going to be 50 in that mirror going with my clothes? Like, that, the reality is I'm not, and I don't really want to be. I want the brand to be global at a point where I have integrated models that fit the brands, that look that, and I don't know, do you know what, I really don't know what I'm doing or where I'm heading. I just hope that I'm heading in the right place, but I just think that is a worry for me because I hope it doesn't go with me with my age, and I hope it stays at a level it does, and accounts for all ages, because I just think if it does move at my age, then I'm losing Gypsabella. Gypsabella is what it's supposed to be now. And obviously Gypsabella's a part of me as well, so maybe it should move with me because it is me, I don't know. I really don't know.
So that's one worry. What other worries do you have? I mean, you go from doing 2 orders a day to 1,000 orders on a good day, and all the things that come with it, the product. I
think my worry is, I mean, I have to pinch myself every day. Like, I'll look at, like, you know, the website or...
Do you live in the moment? Do you relish what you're doing still?
I do live in the moment. I worry a lot. I'm not... I wouldn't say I worry about the future a lot. I worry about... I probably worry about things that don't matter. Maybe a lot of people do, I don't know. But I am just grateful that people place an order with me. So, like, I've looked at the Shopify app today and I've been like, bloody hell, why doesn't it matter if people are placing orders? Like, why are they choosing Gypsabella? I am baffled that people choose Gypsabella to shop. And that's why I think when you look at people who expect people to shop, I understand the value of that sale. Like, I understand, like, I am shocked that when people are going through to checkout and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy this because they obviously like it. It's a lot for me. I don't know, I feel like I worry about my future for me. And I think I don't want to head backwards. I hope that I don't go back to where I was on agency work 24/7 when I'm 40. Like, I don't want that for me. And I would class that as a failure for me. And I hope that this continues. But I think for a girl like me who's come from nothing, has had no investments, has had no influence, like business influence, business knowledge, I think sometimes, and maybe other people can relate, I'm not sure, where do you go from here? What is the next step? How do you grow your brand? I am constantly worrying about how do we get the brand bigger now? How can we get it out there? Because have we plateaued? I don't know. It's all these worries where I'm thinking, right, I need to grow this now because my two best mates work with me and my sister. I can't let them go without nothing. Do you know what I mean? I can't let them be 40. I need them to have a life too. They're my life. So like everything for me is for them and my life and the people around me. Like even my mum and dad, I've been able to give my mum and dad a lot since I've started Gypsabella, something that I'd never be able to dream of. And I want that to continue for them. It's not the, and for me obviously, like I've been able to buy a house, never thought I'd ever do that in my life. I'd always thought I'd be with my mum and dad, which isn't a bad thing. I love them to bits and I live with them now. But and just never thought I'd be where I am. So I think my worry is not being secure. And I worry that one day I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to get any sales. That's what I think. And I worry about bringing stuff out new all the time because I'm like, I have to keep this up. Like if I don't, my business is going to fail.
And do you get overwhelmed or do you take it in your stride?
Oh no, I get overwhelmed. I'll have times of the month where I'm like, I'm all right, and I'm like, oh no, but you know what, things are going well, let's say positive. But obviously as a woman, there'll be a time of the month where I'm like, oh my God, like my life's failing. Like for example, if I've invested money in a collection and I've spent a lot of money on this collection, like Christmas, for example, probably the most money I've ever spent on a collection. And it was probably not the best decision, to be honest, but over time, because basically, what I used to do was launch sneak peeks, and I'd base my reaction of that sneak peek and use that reaction to decide how much stock to buy in for that piece. But I've stopped doing that because as soon as I do that, people will bring it out before me because obviously I haven't got the resources to bring it out within 2 weeks. So I feel like because of that, I invested a lot of money and was panicking because I was thinking, if this doesn't do well, this is it. My business is going under. And I think it's all that people don't see. It's all the planning that you don't feel like, that people don't see, that I don't feel like I do anyway. And it's just like an off-the-cuff thing, and I just think it's hard.
I've met your partner. And he strikes me as somebody, one of the things I try to influence in people is to, when you're going through the bumpy ride and the overwhelmed and sometimes underwhelmed and all the things in between, it's like great to have some stability.
1,000,000%.
And from the couple of times I've met him, he strikes me as somebody, one, you've been in it, it's quite long term, I think, the relationship.
11 years. Basically.
And two, he strikes me as somebody who's like, he's very much part of your structure.
He is very much part of it.
And you're able to take those kind of
good and bad, because he annoys me half the time,
well,
but I love him obviously to bits. But his influence is a good influence sometimes because he motivates me when I'm feeling down, or like, for example, the stability side of things. He thinks of stuff that I don't think about. He's very, and don't take this the wrong way, Tom, when you watch. He's very money orientated, not like where he loves money and that's all he wants, but he's very money aware. So like he's like making sure that you're not spending too much in certain places, or is that the right thing to do, or like, are you getting your return off spending that? Like, he sits down with me and he'll be like, right, okay, if you were to spend X amount, how much are you getting back? So. Where I'm not like that at all. I never have been. Where he is, so we do work well in that way, and he's good for me. More of the financial side of things, where I'm more the creative side. I haven't got none of that brain space for the numbers, do you know what I mean? Where he's very like he'll do like all the Facebook ads for me and stuff, and he'll do a lot for me where he'll generate and put ideas in my mind. So we do work well together, and he's a big part of me and Gypsabella.
And as the channel, as the marketing space has moved, you've had to bring in all those new channels. So who oversees like spend on Insta, spend on Google ads?
It's more
who
like
looks after all that?
I think when, like, let's say for example, you're an outsider who knows nothing about Gypsabella, never heard of it, and you're seeing these Facebook ads, you probably think of this business who has got a team of Facebook ads and marketing. You've got your team of customer service, you've got your team, and it's actually not. It's me, my sister, my two best mates, and Tom that deal with it. So Tom will do the Facebook ads, and it'll just be a conversation that we'll both have. Like, he'll be like, Ab, this one isn't really doing that well. do you reckon we change it? Or have you got any new content for me? So like, we've done a video the other week, which done well, and we haven't done a video yet. And he's like, but yeah, let's done boss that. Like, let's focus on that. He's very much invested in that because he knows how well how much that can bring to the table to Gypsabella. So he pretty much uses his own initiative on that and just thinks, do you know what? We've spent this much previously. That hasn't done that well. Let's change it. So he'll use his own ideas. Yeah. And then obviously I'll make sure he's not spending silly amounts of money where he's like, oh, let's just do this. It's definitely thought about. It's not like an off the cuff thing.
We're coming towards the back end, so we'll talk about the future. When you look forward, do you see, what do you look at? I look at brands like Lounge now, and Lounge HQ and Gymshark HQ. I think that looks cool, and it looks great to work. When you look at Gypsabella, are you able to see what it looks like, or
I would love. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm always interrupting you. I feel like I'm a very in the moment person, so I struggle to see where I want to be in 5 years, let's just say. But obviously I would hope to be somewhere where it is, you know, a fully established business. 5 years is a long time. From where I've got from to where I am now, I've you know, grown a lot. So I'd hope that I would have the same, you know, momentum, whatever the word is, within the next 5 years. I just feel like I hope and just stay grateful for every day. And as long as I'm doing better than I was last year, like for example, I've been comparing each month compared to last year, and so far it's doing better. And as long as I'm doing that, I think, what more can I do? Unless I've got someone in who can go, this is what you need to do, this is what I've done, I've got this and I've got that, this is what we've proven. I have got no knowledge or experience in where I see or how I can get to where I want to be, but obviously I've got a plan in my mind. I'd love to have this gorgeous HQ where we all work and we all love life, and it's like, you know, Kylie Jenner's or whatever. But obviously that's unrealistic, and I think sometimes when you plan that in your head and then you don't get there, it's, you know, you feel a little bit disappointed. So I feel like maybe where I am now, I'm very grateful for that and I'm happy about it. And I'd hope in 5 years I'm a lot further. But right now, I need to plan to get there. And there's a lot of things that I need to do to get there. So I'm focusing on the priorities right now to make sure that happens.
And things like sustainability, it's hard to be everything to everyone when you set up a brand. You've got to be niche and you've got to see if it works. Then you can start refining. How does those kind of things fit in with what you're looking to do going forward?
Do you know what? I feel like there's a lot of people who will say, oh, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? Where are the fabrics from? Are they from here? What sizes do you do and all that? And I feel like it's hard, as you said, because you're starting from nothing. So first of all, it's just about the product. Is that going to sell, as you said? Then you've got to focus on being inclusive. So then you've got to focus on catering for all ages, all sizes, shapes and sizes. And that's hard because if you haven't got control over your own manufacturing, then you have got no say over what you'll buy, especially if you're buying from a supplier who's wholesale. You're only buying what they sell. You can't say, oh, I want to go and buy that, because then obviously the minimum order that they require is out of your budget. So I feel like, one, the aim is to become a more inclusive brand. That's where I'd love to head to. Cater for all shapes and sizes, tall, petite, you know, like curve range, whatever it is that I'd like to have to make sure I'm catering for everyone. And obviously the sustainability factor. It's hard because I feel like I'm going into a whole other avenue of a world that I don't really know about right now. I'm focusing on the product, but I feel like the sustainability for me and Gypsabella would be like a timeless piece, something that isn't fast fashion, something that the customer will always keep forever. And that is what I would class as sustainable and environmentally friendly, or, you know, whatever it is. I'd like to head there, but I don't really know how to do that right now. My idea of sustainable would be to have a product that people want to keep forever, and then it's not just lashed out the week later. So what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's a start, isn't it? And I think that sometimes you can get a hard time from people, particularly when you put yourself.
Yeah.
You're at the top, the head of your brand, and so you're there to be shot at, and you've had success over a short period. I don't mean 5 years is short, because some people want it in 5 months. But still 5 years for a business is a short period of time.
And it feels like two years, like doesn't feel that long.
And developing the infrastructure to do everything that you want is impossible.
On one person.
It's not even an option.
Yeah.
But sometimes like the brand can be ahead of the back end.
Yeah,
your
1,000,000%.
brand is ahead of the back end, and you've got to play catch up.
1,000,000%.
People have got to give you the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not here to sell it out next year.
That's a good point.
It's a long-term plan for you, from what I've spoke to you about.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes and I think it's great sometimes that people some people, I'm not saying the words put themselves down, but some people do.
No, I do myself,
where
but
it's
I
like,
think people do.
I haven't got a plan. I mean, but
that's me. I haven't got a plan.
How are you supposed to understand how to fund? How are you supposed to understand all the Chinese factories and the Turkish factories and the Portuguese factories and how it works?
Who's telling you? Is school telling you that, or are you getting brought up with that? Because if you're not, you're on your own.
How are you going to know? You're only going to know when you keep pushing your boundaries.
Yeah.
And what you keep doing, which is mega, which is why I've got you on, is you keep pushing boundaries and you keep going out of your comfort zone, because everything you do is out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You might describe it as, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think you've said that 2 or 3 times in here. You do know what you're doing, but you don't know what's around the corner, because all the time you're going out of your comfort zone to push the boundaries. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on, because people do need to see. People think like there's you do A, you B, C, D, and it equals E, and that ends up 10 million quid.
And you know what? Exactly the point.
It doesn't work like that.
And I feel like a lot of people expect to have a business plan and whatever they expect to do. Like, even if you had a plan, that doesn't mean to say that plan is going to work.
It never works.
And 9 times out of 10 it mightn't, especially if you're new to it. Like, something that I've actually forgot to mention during my time, you know, when you said about what was the turning point?
Yeah.
I remember there was a point in Gypsabella's journey where I went from the £700 night to I ended up getting £4,000, and it was starting to be where everyone else was trying to make these Instagrams, and I invested like £3,500 into stock from India, and I thought, this is it. This is I'm going global with this. This stuff's amazing. Didn't have any relationship with that supplier, by the way, just took his word for it.
Yeah.
Stock never come for like 7 months, so I was out of pocket for like £3,800. I had about £500 in the bank. The stock came, and what I thought was going to be amazing, I actually made a huge loss on. I lost nearly all the £3,500.
Yeah.
I think at the end of it, I had £250 in the bank, right? And I worked in, I'd left work at this point, and I worked in an office space in the Baltic in Liverpool, and there was my old manager, my old boss of the company, the debt management company, was working in that building, funnily enough. And I said to him, have you got any jobs? Because I need a job. Like, I've literally got £250 in the bank. Like, my business isn't doing that well right now. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And on that night, I actually brought out a new hoodie that same day. It was the Doberman hoodie. And on that day when I thought I needed to apply for jobs, I dropped the Doberman hoodie on a pre-order, didn't invest any money, didn't have any money to invest, just got a sample, got the picture, and I made 10 grand that night. And since then, on my dad's life, I have never let that money drop, ever. And I never will. I will hopefully never will. Touch wood, please God. But and I just think that was the biggest, and I wanted to get that in because I want people to know that it's not all, you know, an amazing thing, and you will have losses and you'll have wins, but that was a loss and a win for me, and it was the biggest lesson I've ever learned to date, because that's something that I'm always conscious of now. And I probably will never sell anything again unless I'm 100% certain that it will do well. Or okay, at least, whatever. But And
I think the one thing that's come out throughout this, and the reason I asked you to come on, was I think your brand does well because of the authenticity of the brand. It stays true to you, stays true to your values, stays true to what it is, doesn't really deviate. And I think that's why most people get it wrong, because they chase the dollar.
$1,000,000%.
And where you've got it right.
And I think as well, like, And don't think that because I don't for 1 minute look at myself and go, I love my business model, I love Gypsabella, I love getting these pictures, because I actually don't. And I contemplate all the time changing it up, because I'm thinking, do people hate seeing me in the mirror? Is this old? Like, is it old news now? Should they start getting models in? Should they use influencers? And it's mad, because I bet you people who probably, people have said to me in the past, like, oh, I hope to be like you one day. And I'm like, wow, that's mad for you to even say that to me, because I have doubts about me all the time. Like, I'm not looking at myself going, I'm this amazing business I've started from nothing and look where I am now, because every single day without fail I'm thinking, what shall I do to change this? And sometimes, and like the old saying is, don't fix something if it's not broken. And I just think, stick at what you do and do what you know what's best and go from there. And I think, as I said, I am an in the moment person, and I think as long as I'm doing better than I have done and I'm on the way, I'm progressing, I don't know what more I can do as a person, really.
Well, let's leave it on that advice. Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
No worries, I've enjoyed it. I look forward to watching your journey.
I know, I'm excited. Thank you.
Take care.